Hello everyone. Today we're going to see how this Python library, Data Formulator, works. This is basically a visualization using OpenAI, or I think it can use any AI tool. It's by Microsoft Research, and it's basically a data um, visualization tool. Um, it runs on Python. I've tried installing it and tried using it. I'll just go through the process in this video. Um, so this library is basically I have Anaconda or Python installed through Anaconda. So to run or to install, if you have like pip installed on your computer, all you have to do is to run this command, which is like pip install data formulator. Uh, and once you do that, it installs in a few seconds for me. I'm not sure if it's because I had all the dependent libraries installed, but it took me only a few seconds. And once you install it, the command to run is basically Python data formulator. And once you run that, it actually opens up sort of your local server on your machine on the browser. I think it uses Jupyter or some sort of like a modified Jupyter. Uh, and once you do that, you get to see this screen. It took me a while to figure out. So basically, you have to enable and add like a AI model and select the model. But in order to get the key, you need to pay for the Open AI API. I think it has like a minimum spend of around $5. Let me go into my account and check, uh, basically show you where I went ahead and paid. It took me a while to realize that you needed a working key. Basically, the error message wasn't that helpful when I ran it without the key. So basically, this is the Open AI dash. Once you create an account, I think you'll have this view. But once you go into the settings and under billing, you add in your credit card, and I think you have to load a minimum of $5. You'd be able to see. So in the under billing, so I have like $7 loaded. And once you load, you can go into the API keys. And once you go in there, you'd be able to generate a key. And then you have to enter this key here, apply the model, and I think you can, when you add, it sort of like gives you a green check mark if everything is correct. And then we'll go through like one of the examples here. There are multiple examples. The one I sort of like because I like movies, so I'm choosing this movies data set. I think it's a quite limited data set. It has around, I think, 3,200 odd movies, and its ratings, budgets, and other similar data points. And when you, I think, load up the examples, it will automatically generate a few challenges. I took it upon myself to run one of the medium challenge, which is in this case, we are trying to create a scatter plot of the relationship between profit and IMDb rating. So let me try. So it's a scatter plot. On the x-axis, we have the IMDb ratings. On the y-axis, we have the profit. So we don't have the profit column, so it's using the worldwide gross, um, minus the I think the production budget would give us the profit. So when you have like a derived metric, you have to like basically you can type in the derived metric, and in the prompt you could say what profit is. In our case, I think it picks up even if you sort of like use like the total gross or something like that. But like for my case, I wanted to be on the safer side. I used the actual variable names. In this case, with worldwide gross and the US DVD sales, which is always null in this data set, so I don't think it matters. And minus the production budget that basically gives us the profit. And let me hit this button, which will generate the graphic for us. Mostly it took me a few seconds. So for this one, uh, I wanted to check if it's actually correct. This was my first time using too, so I went into the source. The source is nothing but basically the graph in like a JSON dictionary format. So in this case, let's sort of like test or check uh, the profit. Check the profit for the movie Big. It kind of matched. The movie Big had around a budget of around I think $18 million, and then had a worldwide gross of 151. So I expected around like 132 million profit, which was in this case right. So I checked the value for a couple of movies. It was all right. So I think it sort of like works. Um, and the next up, I tried the next challenge, which in this case was creating like a heat map based on profit and IMDb rating. It didn't work for the first time because I believe I just used the IMDb rating and the profit on X and Y axis. It kind of didn't work, but because each movie became like a point on the Y axis, because each of them had like different budgets. So the next change I sort of like made was to group these movies by profit. Um, Basically, each movie sort of like each bucket had like a 10 million uh, um, dollars bucket, and then in intervals of 10 million, and then also had IMDb as like integers. I was like actually like impressed by like this change. It kind of did everything I asked for. It created a heat map. As you can see, the IMDb ratings are in like integers, whereas previously it had like this huge decimal scale. Most of the movies were grouped in this sort of like bucket where they were between I think 0 to 10 million, or like 0 to negative 10 million profit, and also between like 7 to 6 on the IMDb scale. Yeah, so I even like went ahead and sort of like looked at like different um the source data, and also so basically the source data was nothing but like each um, sort of square on the heat map had a value based on the frequency of number of movies in that bucket. Yeah, so as you can see, most of the movies, um, the highest number of movies were in that range where the profit was less than around like 0 to under 10 million, and then the IMDb rating was 7. Yeah, so this is where you see the maximum number of movies live. The other thing that I showed you earlier today are these like dialog boxes where you can find like more information on how the like AI went about creating the solution. For example, like this one here gives like a test description of like the pseudocode or the steps taken. Um, uh, and I think this was quite informative as well. And yeah, yeah. Next up, let us check like how much it cost us. So it cost me, I think, about 76 cents or 77 cents to run the whole thing. I think whatever we did over the whole IMDb data thing. Um, yeah, I think based on that, it's quite expensive to use the tool. I was able to go into like usage and sort of like look at the number of sort of like API calls, but I didn't quite get like how they were sort of like charging. Um, um, I think once sort of like I have more information, I'll add it in the comments, or sorry, or either in the description or in the comments. Yeah, that's primarily how I use this data. Um, I yeah, tried finding information on how it actually charged, but um, there was like a billing section, but I couldn't like quite get around to it. Yeah. Next up, what I wanted to do is what I sort of like promised, where I I try a digital marketing data set. I found this data set on Kaggle. Um, it had all the relevant numbers or metrics and segments that you usually dimensions that you see. It was like a weekly or sorry, daily data for a month with things like date of campaigns, name of campaigns, category, which is I think like channels, impressions, spent, clicks, and also leads and orders and other metrics. So once you have your file downloaded, you can go back to the tab, the Data Formulator tab, where you have it running. Once you get there, there are like three options to load a file. We saw the first one where we went through a few examples. The second one is the file option. The third one, you can also, I think, have it on the clipboard. And once you have it on a file, I mean, you can't drag and drop. I tried it, but it failed. So when you click on the file, you can like traverse, go to the folder that you have. Once you load it in, you can see it all on this particular sort of like tab. The first thing I wanted to do was to like build like a linear regression graph between the total number of like orders and also total number of marketing spend, which I think in this case was mark underscore spend. So linear, I tried to do a linear regression graph. It's because something as digital marketers, we're always wondering if our spends correlate to the number of orders. The first time I tried, I think I didn't get it right. So I basically had the daily spend on the x-axis and tried to have like the revenue on the y-axis. Since the daily spend was the field, which had to be like um, customized. So daily spend is basically the sum of mark spend for a given date. I didn't. I think it works if you use like spend and date. To be on, I think again I used the column names. This one was wrong because as you can see, it has like revenue on the y-axis. It has to be daily revenue on the y-axis. Um, so I made that correction second time around. So this is where I sort of like figured out that the spend was daily spend, but like the revenue was not the daily revenue. So the regression is not accurate. So in order to do that, what needs to be done was to use like two customized value, like kind of like copy pasted what I had for daily spend for daily revenue. The only thing you need to change is the definition of daily revenue. Um, so now we have like a regression plot. So this plot is basically again is through pandas. As you can see, it's pretty straightforward. So it's it's it summarized like the weekly spends and also the weekly revenue to create a graph. I tried to find if it was possible to display the equation, but I don't think that was possible. Um, yeah, so this was a fairly simple one. For the next exercise, I just wanted to do something a bit more complex. So I try to use like the prompt and the autograph option to give it just the prompt and see what it throws out. I wanted like a weekly trend line of cost per click and cost per order. That didn't work out the first time. I think that's because I wanted like two like sort of like metrics plotted on the y-axis, like having like multiple y-axis, at least like two y-axis, like two different metrics. But I don't think that is possible in this case. That I find is like one of the limitations. I could like quickly sort it out by removing one of the metrics, but then yeah, this is one of the limitations. I tend to create a lot of graphs with like a bar graph denoting spends and with like a line graph denoting cost per order or cost per acquisitions. That's one of the most frequently used one by me, but I don't think that is possible using Data Formulator. But nevertheless, I think this is a good start. I'm looking forward to see what they do in terms of improvements. It's a quite new library. I'm also interested to see what other AI models like Gemini through in terms of like data visualizations. And I did like a one final check on the billing. It had like cost me about like $1.14. And yeah, if you want me to sort of like uh, show other libraries, I'm if you have any questions on data formulators, please let me know. Please follow this space for more visualization tips and also app marketing tips. That's coming soon. I'm in the process of developing those videos. See you soon. Goodbye. Have a nice day. Bye bye.